So what is the relationship between different states of consciousness, the Antarayas, and overcoming the drive, the pull of the Antarayas?
States of consciousness. This can be understood in different ways. One way to understand it is the Sapta Loka, the 7 planes where we reside in consciousness. The Bhuloka, Bhuvaloka, Swaloka, Mahajana, Tapa and Satya. And this Vyaharthis are brought into our Gayatri Mantra practice when Om Bhuhu, Om Bhuvaha, Om Suvaha, Om Mahaha, Om Janaha, Om Tapaha, Om Satyam. This is part of that. You of course have the 7 lower Patala, Satala, Rasatala, Mahatala, Talatala, Atala, Vitala, all that. The 7 lower hells, so the 7 hells and the 7 heavens, making 14 planes of consciousness in which you can reside. So they are often called the Loka. Because a Loka is a plane where you reside. For example, we are residing on Bhuloka, the earth plane. But the Devas, the gods, are residing in their own plane. But then the reality exists at its own plane. So when we talk about consciousness, this is one perspective. Another perspective is the way the Chitta Bhumis are described in the Vyasa commentary on the Yoga Sutra, where you have the Chitta Bhumi concept, and we have the Moda, Kshipta, Vikshipta, Ekagrata and Niruddha. That becomes another perspective, because though they are states of Chitta, they are also Bhumi. And in Indian culture, always look at the term used. Bhumi means earth or a plane where you exist. That on which you stand is called Bhumi. What is your locus standi? So Chitta Bhumi, or states of your Chitta, which is also related to consciousness, could be the dull, inert Muda, which is, just like the buffalo, dull, inert, it will just go its own way, doing its own thing, Muda. Kshipta, which is very, very distracted, like a monkey going every place at the same time. Vikshipta, which is a little more controlled and once in a while sits down more like a butterfly. And then you have Ekagra, where you start to actually become one-pointed, and that is where your yoga starts. Yoga cannot exist in Muda, Kshipta and even in Vikshipta. You can have a desire for yoga in Vikshipta and to some extent Kshipta, and Muda you won't even want to come to yoga class. It doesn't interest you to get out of bed. So the Muda is going to be watching the basketball game and following Trump on whatever he calls it, truth, whatever that is. The Kshipta Vikshipta is where you start to desire something, you start to work towards it. The actual practice of yoga, and by yoga I mean the wholesome part, not doing some acrobatic postures alone or breath work, body work, breath work, mind work, not that. The real yoga starts with Ekagrata. Because if you cannot hold your mind in one spot, I'm sorry to say you cannot actually practice yoga. There's no yoga otherwise. Niruddha, of course, is where we are trying to go, where there's a mastery, there's a transcendence. So a transformation into a state of mastery and transcendence. This is where Patanjali talks of parinama, how the consciousness grows, and this is going to be for the whole next lesson. So remind me of that parinama, the ekagrata parinama, moving towards one-pointedness, samadhi parinama, moving towards a state of absorption, and niruddha parinama, towards that state of transcendence where everything ceases. The cessation is because you have gone beyond it. Berlin is still cold and wet. You have gone above the clouds. Okay? Berlin is still cold and the world is still existing for those who are in the world. You have transcended it. That is Niruddha. Just because you are in Niruddha, the world doesn't stop. Just because you have come out of the movie theater, the movie doesn't stop. You have come out of it, those who are still in the theater are watching that movie. Okay, so all of this is there. So this is another perspective, Modak, Kshipta, Vikshipta. So one was the lokas, this. And then comes another one, which is where we talk about wakefulness, Jagrat, where you are awake and you are experiencing the Vishwa, the world around you. Then you go into sleep, Nidra, and you have Swapna, where you dream. So you have what is called Taijasa, the experience of dream world, Taijasa. The Vishwa is the world you experience in the wakeful state. Taijasa is the world you experience when you are in dream state of Swapna. And then you go into Sushupti where you experience Prajna. So Prajna is experienced in Sushupti. But the problem is you don't know you are experiencing it. Because it has been unconscious. In deep sleep you are unconscious of it, so you don't know you are experiencing it. In yoga you want to be mindful and aware of it when you experience it. That is the difference there. And then of course you transcend all of these into what is called Turiya. And then Indian culture says there is the state beyond that, the fifth state, Turiya Atita. And the Turiya Atita is the state where you are one with the Brahman, Ishvara, Purusha, whatever is there. So why is all of this important? Antarayas do not exist in Sushupti. Antarayas do not exist in Satyaloka. Antarayas don't exist in Niruddha. So I'm giving you all the three and I'm saying in the peak of each one of these three, the Antarayas do not exist. But in all of them, at the base level, at Bhuloka, when you are caught up in the worldly affairs of survival, the Antarayas will exist in their full-blown nature in Bhuloka. In the Muda Kshipta state, the Antarayas will exist full-blown. In Jagrat, the Antarayas will be there full-blown. In the Swapna, they will also be there because Swapna or dream is nothing but the reality, the wakeful but without wakefulness. You know, when you are dreaming, rapid eye movement sleep, the brain waves are similar to when you are awake. The problem is your muscles are paralyzed. So you cannot run from the tiger, that's all. So when we talk about the Antarayas and consciousness, it is when we are stuck in the lower state of consciousness, the rudimentary states of consciousness, the states of consciousness which have the least consciousness have the highest amount of Antaraya. So let's put it this way, the formula, the lesser the consciousness, the greater the Antaraya. The greater the consciousness, the lesser the Antaraya. They are inversely proportional to each other. This is a formula I would give for them. Because as you grow in consciousness, you start to address them. When you are an infant in consciousness, what is called Bala. I had a discussion with someone yesterday about that. Often the word Bala is used in our literature to mean a fool. You are like a small kid. You are so foolish like a small kid. But it's not really foolish, it means immature. You don't have the maturity that is expected when your prefrontal cortex works. So you are said to be Balaka. So it is not foolish, but is more like childish. When we are caught up in the childish levels of consciousness, infantile levels of consciousness, the Antarayas as the obstacles will be very, very powerful. As the light of consciousness shines through you, as you grow higher and higher, you can start to see their devious plans. You can start to address the quagmire of the swamp of the Antaraya by rising above it. You can start to see the traps that have been set by the Antaraya and the lower subconscious, unconscious, because now you are in a position to see the bigger picture. The greater your perspective, the more you can address the Antarayas. And to address the Antarayas, the first step is to accept the Antarayas exist in us. As long as I deny them, I cannot confront them. If I deny my faults, I cannot change them. We have to accept our faults in order to change them. We have to accept our limitations in order to overcome them. We need to accept the Antarayas in order to transcend them. And this is where the goal of yoga is to grow in consciousness so that you are not caught with your nose in the swamp anymore, but you are up there in the drone perspective or satellite perspective. And because you see the whole perspective, none of these Antarayas have any hold on you anymore. There's no Bhranti Darshan because you are seeing the bigger picture. You are not caught up in any more illusion. There's no mirage because you can see the bigger picture. No one can come and say, oh, look at them, they are getting the award and you are not getting it. You are like, there's no them and me anymore. As Ramana said, there is no other. So if the otherness has been broken down, you are not comparing with anybody. So all that alabdha bhumikatva, anavasthitatva, it stops having its power on you because the power of alabdha bhumikatva, anavasthitatva, inability to attain to certain states and the inability to stay in those states, when does it become an obstacle? When you feel bad that you cannot do it but somebody else is doing it. And the moment there is no other person to compare with, the chitta has no more power over you because it's trying to come and tell you stories about someone. You are like, why are you telling me the story? That person and me are one and the same. I remember many years ago, Madan Mohan sir, who in my opinion is a divine human being. He is a Daiva Purusha in human. He is a human incarnate of divinity. I remember when I was working with him about 15 years ago, 16, 17 years ago now it is. And we had a newspaper report on our center in Jipma, A-Siter. And the reporter had come to highlight, we wanted to get some publicity, so I invited the reporter. And she had come with a photographer, taken some photos and interviewed me about it. And I said, see, I am the coordinator of this center, but Dr. Madan Mohan is the director. So here is his phone number, here is his office. Please talk to him and highlight him in your article because that is the right thing to do. Now, when the newspaper article came out, it was only about me. There was no mention of him at all. Because she couldn't contact him and she tried to contact him and he didn't lift the phone. And so she just went with the story where I am mentioned and A-Siter is mentioned and all of that. So the morning I saw the newspaper, I took it to his office at 8:30 and I said, sir, this article has come. He said, it's nice. I said, I'm sorry, sir, they should have mentioned your name. I had given them the phone number, but They tried to contact you and couldn't, and this is what happened. He said, it doesn't matter, Ananda. A-Siter is getting good publicity. That is what matters to me. Well done. 1 hour later, at 9:30, one of our colleagues in physiology, he runs into Madan Mohan sir's office with a newspaper and says, "Sir, did you see this? Did you see this?" He says, "What?" "You look, don't trust Ananda. And don't trust Ananda at all. Look at this newspaper report. He is building himself up and he has not even mentioned you in this, and look at what he is doing." And Madan Mohan sir looked at him and said, "What? There's no difference between Ananda and me." He burst the bubble of that devious person in that moment. This is the Alabdha Bhumikatva Anavasti Tattva trick. Someone else is getting their good name. Someone else is getting paid more. Somebody else has more Insta followers. Your reel only got 500 views. Dr. Ananda's got 650. We all go through that. This is all that Alabdha Bhumikatva Anavasti Tattvani also. And the moment you say, let others grow, let everyone be, Loka Samasta Sugino Bhavantu, that chitta suddenly has no power over you. So as long as you are caught in the Modak Shipta, or as long as you are caught in only the Jagrat and Swapna of me, as long as you are caught in the Bhuloka and all the hells below that, me, they have lot of power over you. But as you expand your consciousness from the me to the we, M turned upside down is W, okay? So get the me to do Shirsasana, it becomes we. M-E, capitals, you turn it upside down in Shirsasana, M-E becomes W-E. When you change your perspective, that is Pratipaksha Bhavana. And then bingo, the Antarayas fall away like loose chains that have been unlocked. I think that's a good place to stop for that. We'll explore this in great detail when we meet for that, because these are topics that tickle my consciousness.
Thank you so much. Yes, thank you so much.
This is what yoga is about. This is what life is about. This is what being human is about. And a yogi is nothing but a noble human being. That is what this is all about. Whenever I do my Shirsasana, it is not for anything else but to change my perspective. Whenever I do Brahma Mudra, it is not for my shoulder and neck, though it helps me, of course. It is to change my perspective towards the world in which I live and the people who are with me. That is the only reason I do these things. Because that matters. If I also fall prey, and we all do that, if we fall prey to the small-mindedness, the petty-mindedness, we truly become childish. Be childlike but not childish, says Swamiji. Be wise. Be generous. Be compassionate. Be loving. Be.
So do you also fall prey to these?
Of course.
But do you notice that with your sadhana and the practice and you being you, it's like less frequent, or it lasts less, or like how do you mark an improvement in the sadhana in your own experience?
Yeah, what I would say is 30 years ago, 40 years ago, they would really take over me. I would go into a rut, I would get depressed, I would get angry, I would get upset. Today I have the same, I get angry, I get upset, I fall in the rut, but for a shorter time. I get back up earlier, I can see it happening, Sometimes I can stop it, sometimes I cannot stop it, but I can see it happening, and the moment I can see it happening, I can deal with it. So I would say my awareness of it has grown tremendously in the last 4 decades. Very mindful of this over the last 4 decades. Because I remember as a kid, if another kid got something and I didn't get it, it would really, 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 really get my goat. And nowadays I'm happy. Anybody gets it, I'm happy. There will be a few moments where, why not me? Yes. And why I don't have a big ashram with millions of followers. And then I'm like, thank God I don't. So, then it's fine. Pratipaksha Bhavanani is thank God I don't, and then, you are fine. Oh, I'm not on a pedestal. Yeah, thank God, because if you're on a pedestal, they'll pull you down next. So don't get on the pedestal. You start to deal with it better. But it does come in. Somebody asked the Dalai Lama the other day, I shared that. Do you get angry? He said, yes, I'm human. But you think of the Dalai Lama as being this peaceful, loving creature who never gets angry. Yeah, he will also get angry. If you're stupid, it's like with Swamiji. People said, oh, your father was an angry man. I said, no. He used anger as a tool. And he didn't tolerate stupidity. There's a big difference between being angry and not tolerating stupidity. There's a big difference there. So I would say that as a human being, we will constantly fall prey to it. The greatest of rishis have fallen prey to all of these Antarayas. Patanjali warns us, just at that threshold of Kaivalya, you will be hit by this, oh, look at me, I am being invited into Kaivalya, and then gone, snakes and ladders, down to the bottom. The greatest of rishis have fallen prey to it. So why should we feel bad about it? Why should we feel we are a failure because of it? The failure is not in falling down. The failure is in not getting up. Fall down by all means, but make sure you get up. And if you can make that falling down and getting up into a dance, so people think you are just dancing, why not? Don't let them fall. Let them know you have fallen down. Let them think you were just making a somersault. I did that the other day. I fell out of my headstand and I made it into a nice, namaskar and sitting quietly. And okay, fine. I actually fell out. I lost my balance. But then in that moment, instead of falling flat and saying, oh, I have to take another video, I said, make a teaching out of that moment. In that moment, you make a teaching that you fall, but how do you come out of it? How do you manifest the next moment after your fall? That is where consciousness comes in. Not in saying I will never fall. That is utopian. I am very human. Proud to be very human.
Thank you so much. Of course, we would like to keep you as long as we can, but we're very respectful of it.
Have a nice session.
Thank you.
Because I know the practice is important, and we'll meet up end of November and continue this. So many ways we are sharing these days that I'm really, really happy that I have so many opportunities to share.
Thank you so much, sir.